Also want to mention, out of the impact victim statements, 8 families have spoken thus far. We're just waiting on the final 2, and then ultimately sentencing should happen after that. But we can ask that question to our very own 9 News legal analyst, Whitney Traylor. As all the impact statements, finish out throughout the day, is next step sentencing?
Well, that's what it sounds like they're doing. So normally this would be a situation where they've done a pre-sentencing investigation. There's been a lot of information, a lot of interviews, and then the judge gets all that, and then everybody makes their argument. But here it sounds like the parties beforehand agreed that they would go straight into sentencing. So as soon as the verdict was read, they started, shortly after, they started the victim impact statements, and it looks like today we may actually get to the sentencing. It's late in the day, but the judge may not want to bring everyone back and have to go through that process again. So depending on when the victim impact statements end, they could start that sentencing, the judge.
This case, once it reached trial, was always about sanity.
Yeah.
There was no question as far as guilt or innocence. It was just a matter of sanity. And I want to ask you about expert witness testimony, because in the cases of an accident, you have mechanical people who will define things that are yes, no, on, off, black, white.
Yeah.
Medical, they may be as well. When you get to psychologists, it's a giant gray area.
Yeah.
where different expert testimony can make all the difference. In this case, we heard from experts on both sides trying to define sanity and the shooter's mental state at the time of the murders.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to the challenge that this jury had. I've talked with many jurors after trial, and it's first very intimidating. This is the first time a lot of them have even been in court. Then this one has the publicity. Then you have the judge up there and these very important consequences. So all of that is an emotional and kind of mental burden on the jury. But then you have to take into account very technical testimony from these experts. They're not just coming in saying, they're using the medical and scientific jargon, and the jury is supposed to kind of break that all down, and that really speaks then to the skill of the lawyer, because really a good lawyer is going to come in closing argument and almost teach you and walk you through each and every element and do that. And I saw some of I didn't sit for the trial, but I saw some of the presentations, and I could say, and I've seen Doherty before, he's an excellent prosecutor.
That's the burden of the attorney, the prosecutors and the defense, not the expert witness.
Yeah, I mean, the expert witness, of course, a lot of these experts, they're paid and they do this as part of and I don't think the fact that they're paid negates what they're actually saying,
right.
But they'll generally testify for one side or the other. And some of them are better than others at relating to the jury, but a lot of them you have to consider are engineers, scientists, and things like that, and their skill set is not to actually relate to the jury. So that's where the skill of the trial lawyer comes in.
And jurors ultimately rejecting the claims that he was insane at the time of the defense of the shootings.
Yep.
But you heard a lot, if you listen throughout these trials, of the defense trying to make that we don't know motive, but the state of mind, right? Almost presented as a motive, where he's schizophrenic, he's hearing voices. Yep. At one time where the defense attorney is literally shouting, "Kill, kill, kill."
Yeah, and they're trying to, I think, create some, not necessarily empathy, because it's hard to have empathy for a shooter like this, but some understanding of, okay, this wasn't a normal situation. And so they did highlight those things, that the mental illness was getting worse. He was drowning into the voices. There were state doctors who said he didn't know right from wrong. He had been at the hospital for 3 years. The reason for the delay in this trial was because they couldn't get him in a competent state of mind. And so all of these things, he stopped working out, he gained weight, he lost his hair, he isolated. And they were saying that the pandemic really intensified it. And I know some viewers are probably, and certainly some of the families are struggling to see any empathy or any understanding. But you do have to understand, this is our criminal justice system. And there's this notion, rather 10 innocent men or guilty men go free than one innocent man be convicted. So we go out of our way to provide this due process. And, there's a lot of opportunities for a defendant and for a convicted defendant to then appeal and make sure that their rights are protected. And I think, they were, and I'm sure there will be an appeal. I don't think this is going to get overturned.
Guilty on all 55 counts.
Yeah.
The first 10, of course, the first-degree murder counts for those 10 who died. Those are the families that are getting the opportunity to speak this afternoon in the victim impact statements.